Alibaba just got nailed with a 6-month ban from a government cooperative partnership. And that was enough to take the stock down almost 6% as investors are worried about a potential fallout from the government and maybe even some fine. And I don't blame them for thinking that because the Chinese government loves to fine Chinese tech companies. So should you be worried? And if the government is going after Alibaba Cloud, is this the last straw to sell the stock and move on? Well guys, hit that like button and subscribe if you're new because that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. You're watching More Money, let's get it. Alright, so on Wednesday, a Chinese government body, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, or MIT, suspended a cooperative partnership with Alibaba Cloud. Now, that suspension will be reassessed in 6 months and be revived depending on the company's internal reforms. And this was done because Alibaba Cloud did not immediately report vulnerabilities in a popular open source logging framework called Apache Log4j2 to the MIT. Instead, guys, they found that vulnerability and notified the US-based Apache Software Foundation, and the MIT only found out from third-party sources. So it sounds to me like Alibaba wasn't hiding anything, it was more of a failure of procedure, if they knew that that was the procedure at all. And with the track record of the CCP, I'm not so sure that they would have made it abundantly clear, but I'm not on the inside, so I'm not sure. What this does show, however, is how tone-deaf regulators are over their own Chinese corporations. There should be other ways to address these items as opposed to actions that reaffirm the heavy hand of the CCP. Now let's be real guys, you guys already wiped out billions of market cap from your biggest companies in a year where the securities of other nations have been skyrocketing. So when I first read this article, I thought to myself, how can Alibaba Cloud be so careless? And then as I learned more, I realized that this probably wasn't their fault at all. But what it does do is it highlights the ongoing efforts to strengthen control over key online infrastructure and data in the name of national security by Chinese regulators and the risk that it poses to investors. And of course, this vulnerability really scared the Chinese regulators, as according to the MIT, they said that this vulnerability may lead to remote control of equipment, which may lead to serious harms such as the theft of sensitive information and interruption of equipment services. It is a high-risk vulnerability. And I don't disagree with the MIT here, but once again, was such a heavy hand warranted? I would suspect that something like that would occur after multiple violations, but once again, I'm not on the inside, so I'm not really sure what transpired. But one thing that I am sure of is that the market really didn't like this, and they reacted by shaving off almost 6% of the market cap of the company. And at face value, this does seem like an overreaction by investors, but investors have some very valid concerns. If you recall, getting on the bad side of regulators has not been advantageous for Alibaba, as they are fresh off of a $2.8 billion antitrust fine. And it's not just Alibaba that's getting nailed by regulators here. Meituan was also just fined $530 billion for participating in monopolistic practices. Also note that the MIT also recently impacted Tencent by disallowing new app rollouts, which they only recently lifted. So once again, with the Tencent experience, it seems like the MIT has too heavy of a hand and it's really weighing on the valuations of these securities. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to find alternative approaches that signal to the market that you're relaxing this regulatory heavy-handed overhang, but I don't really see that happening anytime soon. Now guys, do I think that a suspension for 6 months is material? The truth is, I'm not really sure, but I would land on probably the not material side. I'm also not sure how material the impact would be as it relates to the request from the Chinese government to have state-owned companies migrate their data from private operators like Alibaba Cloud to a state-backed cloud system by next year. It is very important to note that the cloud revolution is largely expected to be led by the private market as the world is digitizing and whole new ecosystems are being created. So what I'm saying here is that there's a lot to look forward to in the cloud space, and many believe that it will eventually become Alibaba's largest business, which includes their CEO Daniel Zhang sharing that opinion. But they have a long way to go, as you can see that cloud is still a small but fast-growing part of their business that just recently started generating income. Expect more bumps along the road here, but once again guys, when you're changing the world, the path is never smooth. That being said, I would love to see less regulatory overhang. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your subscription is really the only thing that I asked Santa for this year. It also sends YouTube a strong message that non-hype research-focused YouTubers like this channel should be the ones that are shared across the platform. I started this channel because there simply aren't enough of us out there who really want to help the retail investor community out there. Also, it's super important that you understand what Alibaba has said throughout their Investor Day presentation. I've summarized that in an easy to digest series, which you can get to right here.